Where's the countdown?
I don't know that there is one.
Hey everyone, Denise Middleton here, coming to you live from my home. Hope you guys are doing well on this chilly Friday morning. I'm so excited because today is the first day of my weekly live stream called Volunteer Vibes. So, welcome. We're going to meet here every Friday at 11 a.m. So, I hope that you guys can join me because this is all about lending a helping hand and highlighting some nonprofits in the community. So, we want to, get you guys involved and give you a chance to give back. And so I am really thrilled and thankful to be teaming up with Volunteer Houston. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with them. So let's go ahead and bring in Brooke Campbell. She is the Volunteer Houston director. Good morning to you. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much. We're happy to be a part of this.
Yes, so there is an event taking place this weekend where people can get involved, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, I just want everyone to, for those who may not be familiar with Volunteer Houston, just tell us about, your involvement in the community, because I know you guys have a huge presence.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll start from the top. It's really short. The Volunteer Houston was originally founded in 1974 here in Houston to support volunteer efforts across the community. In October of 2017, Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston adopted Volunteer Houston as one of their programs. So we are now a program of Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston. But when that transition happened, our mission did not change. So just to clarify, we are a non-religious program of Interfaith Ministries, and we exist in the community to connect volunteers with nonprofits. And volunteers come in the form of individual volunteers. They might be a corporate group, a school group. It doesn't really matter. But we have an online portal through which we primarily make those connections. Mm-hmm. And that's at www.volunteerhu.org. We have over 800 local nonprofits registered in the portal that are posting hundreds of volunteer needs in our community on a very regular basis. And we have over 137,000 local volunteers registered and browsing. So we're making a lot of connections and hoping that we're doing great things to support the community here.
That is awesome. Well, tell us about the need for volunteers out there. And, I don't know if it's been a challenge during the pandemic as well. How have things been going?
Oh, goodness. I think everybody is experiencing the same feelings with this pandemic. When the pandemic first started in March of 2020, we saw a dramatic decrease, not only in the number of volunteers that were volunteering. We believe, of course, there was concern for their own safety to be out at doing in-person. But we also saw the number of volunteer needs being posted by local organizations decrease. And that was because a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were closing their doors to in-person volunteer opportunities. They of course, the work that they do in the community is so incredibly important, and in some cases even more important during the pandemic. So they were still operating and having those positive impacts in the community during the pandemic. They just weren't open to in-person volunteering. So for a long time, we saw that trend decrease. And there was a time several months into the pandemic where we saw nonprofits and volunteers both start to hone in on virtual and remote volunteer opportunities. Admittedly, it just takes time for an organization, a nonprofit or a for-profit company to make that transition and to pivot from what you're comfortable doing, what you've always been doing, to now trusting, setting your employees or your volunteers up to work remotely and work from home. We found that, and we've had a lot of conversations with local nonprofits, that taking the mindset of radical flexibility and radical trust when it comes to working with their volunteers became incredibly important as they were making that shift from in-person to virtual and remote volunteer opportunities. Because you're not there in person to support them, you're not there in person to monitor what they're doing, and so it just takes that extra level of flexibility and trust to be successful in those virtual and remote volunteer opportunities. So it was a big shift. And as soon as the pandemic started to lighten up, maybe is the right word, when stores, restaurants were opening, nonprofits were reopening to in-person volunteer opportunities, and volunteers were right there ready to help and support them. And so that trend, of course, has picked back up near the end of 2021, mid to late 2021. And now here we are with a new challenge in the pandemic. The good news is there are still needs out there, and there are still volunteers willing to help.
Yes. So speaking of which, tell us about the event taking place at George R. Brown Convention Center starting today, really, and what you guys are asking volunteers to do.
Yes, so we are so grateful to work with two different organizations on this particular project, and I think you'll hear from them a little bit later. The first is Equinix, which is our corporate client for this project, and they will tell you more from their perspective. The project itself, with the support of Equinix and their employees, is going to benefit an organization called Big Hope, which operates in Dallas, but also is now supporting some schools in the Houston area. Big Hope is, and I'm going to mess this up, Oren can tell you more about it, but Big Hope is all about bringing STEM and STEAM education to underserved students in the elementary-ish grade levels. And so the project itself that we are working on is assembling, get this, 16,000 STEM kits that are going to be distributed to students in underserved areas in both Dallas and Houston. And I'll let Oren talk more about the details of the project, but we have a volunteer shift starting today from 2 to 4:30, and then we have 3 shifts tomorrow between 9 and 6 p.m.
Great. So how many volunteers are you looking for, and what do they need to know? I mean, as far as COVID is concerned, what are some of the protocols that you guys are?
Yes. So let me start with the first part of the question. For each of those 4 shifts starting this afternoon and the 3 shifts tomorrow, we're hoping to recruit at least 75 volunteers for each shift. And there are still lots of slots open this afternoon, tomorrow morning from 9 to 12. And then the late shift from 3 to 6 tomorrow afternoon/evening. We still have space for a couple hundred more volunteers. We are asking that volunteers register and respond to this volunteer opportunity through the Volunteer Houston portal. Again, that's volunteerhou, HOU.org. You can search for keywords STEM kits. That's it. That's right. And you can find that opportunity there. We are requiring that volunteers show proof of COVID vaccination. And so that can be done in the Volunteer Houston portal when you're registering and responding to this particular volunteer need. That's prior to arriving on site. There will be complimentary COVID testing that's made available, thanks to Equinix, to volunteers if they want to take advantage of that. We're also strictly enforcing 2 COVID safety rules, and that is everyone must wear face masks the entire time. And we are social distancing in the ballroom as far as table setup. So a max of 2 volunteers per table during the actual assembly project.
All right. Well, thank you. Of course, we'll speak with you in just a moment, but I want to talk more about Big Hope. So we'll get back to you, and I'm going to bring in Oren O'Neill right now. So let's see. Oh, well, there he is. All right. Hello. Guys, bear with me. You know what? This is my first time, so I'm trying to make sure we get the right people on the screen here. But there we go. All right. Oren, thanks so much for joining us. So tell us about Big Hope. You know, I know you are a retired NFL player and engineer. So why did you decide to start this organization?
Well, STEM and STEAM It's always been a passion of mine since I was a young child, right? And engineering has done so much for me as a profession that I want to share with a lot of the kids from communities where I'm from, like where I'm from originally, because with everything's going on now, where the future is heading, and with job space, with technology in the tech space, that's going to be a lot of opportunities for a lot of kids, a lot of people, right? And I want kids from my communities where I'm from to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So a while back, me and my family, we started Big Hope, so we can use STEAM and STEM education to engage with elementary schools, young students, after school programs where one, we use STEM and STEAM to nurture the whole child. Two, we enrich the teacher's weekly lesson plan with robotics to keep the kids interested. We teach them the basic things, curriculum like math, reading, science, shapes, identifying things like that. And three, we want to lead them with skills for the future, right? And we tune in weekly with the schools, kind of like I would like to, if we would have to describe it, I would say like an interactive Sesame Street with robotics, right? Because when the kids see these robots move and things like that, they're more interested in learning now, right? That's the whole thing. If we want them to be able to pick these new skills up, they have to have an intrinsic interest in learning what's in front of them. And when they do things that's fun, like make these little these some of some kits we're going to make, right? They're assembling these kits.
Oh,
We make these LED bracelets or necklaces. I can't fit over
that's
my head,
cool.
but yeah, they'll fit over the kids. And so we give them these hands-on projects, but what we start with, everything is based on well, literacy is a huge part of it, right? Because as an engineer, the engineering process is what you come up with an idea, you research it, you write down your plan, you try it, you adjust, and repeat the cycle, right? So we want to show the kids how important reading is. So we get them to think reading is fun. So we, like Oscar and the Bird, teaches kids as young as kindergarten about electricity and electric circuits, right? And then after they get through reading about electricity and electric circuits, then we give them a hands-on project so we can show how reading really translates to real life. And we believe like exposing these kids to these opportunities, these skill sets, the fun part of all this learning and things like that at an early age, and not waiting till they get to middle school or high school. You'd be surprised how young kids can pick these activities up. And we started with kids as young as pre-K with these projects, and even things like this is another project we're doing. I call it the Lit Bot, but it's really a conductivity tester, right? We can use this to everything that's metal or it's conductive material, you put it between the paper clips and they'll light up, and we can teach the kids
Oh, wow.
about conductivity. And it's all in a way we break it down so they can understand it at their level. They'll be interested to get rid of, keep them from being intimidated by this math, this science behind it. Let them know it's not that hard. If you put in the work, you can understand these things. And I want them to be able to partake in the future that's coming. So if in the communities that are traditionally underserved, if they can take hold and grab these skills, then they can stay in these communities and they can start rebuilding these communities one block at a time with the skills they have and with the everything that's coming in tech. They can really start to revitalize these communities where they live.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us more, about the kits that the volunteers are assembling today and why you really need their help.
So why I needed help, because when we first started, because again, like I said, it was me and my family. So me and my three kids and my wife, we would see the need and we go in these schools and they were really interested. So we would make these kits ourselves, like inexpensive material, right? Because I want the kids to see like you can learn robotics and all these things. You don't have to break the bank. Like you can get foam construction paper, little LED braces. Like all together, this little kit probably costs about like $2, right? If you buy the pieces in bulk. But we were making, serving like one classroom, and then we make it for one classroom, which is 25 kids, which is no problem for our family to make it. But as word got out about what we're doing, more students, more teachers, more schools wanted us to come through, and it was getting kind of hard to make these kits ourselves. So with the help of Volunteer Houston, with Equinex support, with the volunteers coming together to help us break these pieces down and get these kits together, we can get these kits to these kids, and they all can have their own kit. Because I started off volunteer and coaching robotics club, and we see kids on robots, 5 kids on one robot. One robot that costs like $500, and you see them not be very interested because they have to wait their turns. I say, well, every kid needs a project in their hand for themselves so we can keep them interested so they can see how fun it is. So we started to find inexpensive ways to get them these things. We have them to go through the projects, and we want them to keep them and take them home and have these projects in their homes so they can see, like, yes, these things are doable and things like this. So with the help from volunteers coming out to help us build these kits, we'll be able to send these learning activities into kids' homes who traditionally, don't even know these projects or these opportunities exist. But if we get them in their homes, we get the parents on board with things that they can work on, and it's simple for them to understand, is they can start to pick these things up sooner than later, and then really go into those fields, and we can have them entering the tech careers and having a positive, great future.
That is awesome. And I know this is, going to benefit students in Dallas, but is there any way any Houston students may be able to benefit from this as well?
Oh yes, we're working with Volunteer Houston to reach out to schools down there in Houston. And what's great about the program, before the pandemic, we were in the schools, personally volunteering and things like that. But after, when the pandemic first happened, everything went virtual, but we still wanted to engage. So we went virtual. We would send the kids out to the students, to their homes. The parents would be involved, and then we'd Zoom in, we'd read our lessons, and then we'd be right there virtually. So now our program is a combination of virtual and in person. So the kids in Houston, we can send them their kids out. We can have volunteer readers jump in, especially volunteers who are like in the tech field, like, computer programmers, engineers, stuff like that, that come in and do show and tell, read to the kids, and then help them build remotely and virtually. So now we can expand our reach, beyond Dallas, beyond the classrooms we were serving before, and we're planning to go down to Houston, spread the joy of STEM and STEAM education.
Yeah, I bet. You know what? I bet those kiddos just get so excited and light up when they see those kids. I mean, what's been the feedback, and how does that make you feel when you see them? I guess some of them excited.
Oh, it's great, right? It's so fulfilling, right? Because we'll be in there working with the classroom. You'll see these kids that work, and I'm talking, these kids are like kindergarten kids, babies, like 5 and 6 years old, and you see in them like, oh, I can do this. You see how proud they get when they make these things. But when you take these lights and they finally get together and it lights up, and you see like, oh, I made this move. This just the joy that comes out is like, oh, it's so fulfilling. And one thing, and no matter the age, from pre-K or even the teachers helping or the parents at home working with their students, when they get to working on these kids and they light up, they feel the enjoyment and excitement too as well, because that's how fun STEM and STEAM is, right? And it's not only just about teaching robotics, but the robotics itself, or robotics and these engineering projects themselves, it enriches all the other curriculum that they need to be successful people in life, right? That teaches how the way they think, how they problem solve and everything, and then they'll have skills for the future. And it's just, it's just so amazing. The feedback we get from the teachers and the students and the parents, like they're wanting more. They want more activities. They like the way the kids now are interested in coming to school, especially coming after the pandemic. And sometimes you get the virtual Zoom burnout, but when you have interactive activities like this, it helps deal with a lot of the strains and stresses with the pandemic and learning, right? So we've been getting some great feedback.
That is awesome. I love what you're doing, and I love you're making it fun for the kids as well. So I hope everything goes great and that you get, the volunteers that you need. So we'll check in with you in a minute. Right now, I want to go to Equinix. We have Sujata Narayan. So we are going to check in with her. She's also a part of this. We'll check in with you later, Oren.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So good morning to you.
Good morning, Denise. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So talk to us about, corporate volunteerism and why you guys selected Big Hope.
Absolutely. So Equinix, we're a technology company. We're headquartered in California, but we do have operations in Texas. And as a company, it's just really important to us. It's a core belief that it's not only our responsibility, but a real privilege to invest in the communities where we operate, where employees live and work. And you just heard from Oren. I mean, his presence, his energy is infectious, his passion for STEM. And as a technology company, STEM and STEAM are absolutely critical for us. We're basically investing in the employees of the future. And when you look at what Big Hope is doing in particular, they are bringing STEM and STEAM to elementary age students. What the research really shows is that when you can bring this kind of hands-on education and learning to younger children, they're more apt to pursue careers in that particular field. So we are inspired, we're impressed by Big Hope, and we're really thrilled that we can partner with Volunteer Houston to really scale the impact and achieve our mission of bringing 16,000 plus kits into the schools, both in Dallas and in Houston. So that's why we're really excited and invested in this wonderful opportunity.
Good. And so for those watching, I guess, why would you encourage them to come out this weekend and help out with this project?
I think, Oren, what Oren says speaks for itself. You will touch the life of many children, the lives of many children, and really put them on a path to become really capable, competent, confident leaders in the new economy, the digital economy that's emerging here. And I think what we are hoping to do with all of this is to create a more inclusive opportunity set for young people as they come up in the world, and to make sure that they know that they have a place to contribute, participate, and really achieve in this new digital world.
All right, Sujata, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us this morning. I am going to check back in with Brooke Campbell with Volunteer Houston. So thank you again. I know they are at George R. Brown right now setting up. So for those who may have tuned in late, just kind of go over again, what they can expect when they get there, and the different shifts that are going to be available today and tomorrow before we leave.
Yeah, so our first shift is today, Friday, starting at 2. So it's 2 to 4:30. Tomorrow's, we have 3 shifts, 3 hours each. So 9 to 12, 12 to 3, and then 3 to 6. And we really need volunteers tomorrow morning and late afternoon, the 9 to 12 and the 3 to 6 shifts. We do require that volunteers pre-register. And they can do that online at www.volunteerhou.org, and then search for keyword STEM kits. Sorry. And they can find it that way. And from there, if they don't already have a profile created, they'll need to create a profile. They'll have to complete one qualification in the Volunteer Houston portal, and that is to upload a copy of their COVID vaccination card, because we are requiring volunteers to be fully vaccinated before they can be on site for this in-person opportunity. And just so everybody knows, the work is taking place at George R. Brown Convention Center downtown. And that's today, this afternoon, starting at 2, and then starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow on Saturday.
All right, Brooke, thank you so much. I sure hope that you guys can go out and, lend a helping hand today or tomorrow, because the kiddos, I know, are going to be so excited to get those kids. We appreciate it. Brooke, thank you so much.
Thank you, Denise, for having us. We're excited to be a part of this and excited to support Equinix and Big Hope in this project. It's going to make a positive impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm adding everyone back. There we go. So you guys can wave and say bye. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, we are going to meet here every Friday at 11 a.m. so we can share some of the volunteer opportunities that are out there, for yourself or your family. That way we can all get involved and get back. All right. Well, hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. See ya.
Bye.